Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we're looking at the synastry between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, because when you put their charts side by side, a very specific pattern starts to appear. They didn't meet by accident. When their charts come together, the sky starts telling a much darker story. And this isn't the kind of connection that begins with romance. It begins with strategy. The kind of connection where two people look at each other and silently understand the game that's being played behind the scenes. When his Salacea asteroid conjuncts her sun, crude sexual energy fuses directly into her identity. Salacea is raw, unfiltered sexuality. It's instinctual, physical, not subtle. So when it lands on her sun, that energy, it doesn't stay on the surface. It brands her. His sexual nature plugs straight into the center of her identity in his world. But the chart adds another layer. The Orania-Nassau asteroid is there as well. In my pattern recognition work, that asteroid repeatedly appears around exploitation themes, specifically SA involving children. And it's also there, especially when other asteroids can validate that in the chart. So when Orania-Nassau sits on her sun as well, her identity becomes entangled with those energies. And this is all happening in the 8th house, the house of sex, taboo, power, and secrecy. Now, when his Mars and Venus in Pisces conjuncts her Orania-Nassau, his sexual drive and his romantic energy flow directly into the same exploitation signature already sitting in this chart. Mars is desire, Venus is attraction. So both his passion and his affection plug straight into that SA energy. And Pisces dissolves boundaries, and it feels natural to them. That's why it's disturbing, and there's money involved here with the SA, because his Mars and Venus is in the 2nd house. So what the chart shows is compatibility inside something that's dark. It's not tension or conflict, it's alignment. Now look at her natal chart for a second, because this tells you who she already was before Epstein ever entered the picture. Her sun is holding hands with Fantasia, Bacchus, and the Magellan asteroids. Fantasia is fantasy, living inside an imagined world, and Bacchus is indulgence, excess, pleasure without restraint. And Magellan carries that manipulative spell energy, the ability to charm, influence, and bend perception. Now, normally, a Capricorn sun is structured, controlled, and strategic. But with these asteroids sitting right on her sun, those energies are woven directly into her personality. She can build something very real while still operating inside illusion, overindulgence, and manipulating persuasiveness. So she doesn't just flirt with fantasy, she builds her life inside of it. She doesn't just sip indulgence, she swims in it. So when someone like Epstein enters her orbit, she is not shocked by shadow or excess. She already lives in a world where fantasy, indulgence, and enchantment are part of her core identity. Now, her part of fortune, Laverna, and Amor fall directly on his Mercury and Calypso in Capricorn. So this is not romantic sparks. It's recognition. The kind where two people lock eyes across a table and realize they think the same way about control. Capricorn makes it cold, deliberate, and strategic. And Laverna is the patron of criminals and imposters. So that means that they don't have to explain anything to each other. They already know what game is being played. His Mercury with Calypso thinks in hidden rooms, behind locked doors, in places where secrets are kept. And his prey asteroid is there as well. So when he talks and thinks, it's about hidden agendas, and she is not shut out of that world. Her part of fortune sees opportunity in his mind, and Amor wraps this bond in loyalty. But this is not a soft sort of love. This is strategic love, the kind built on protecting the same secrets and never betraying the plan. So there's two predators recognizing each other here across the table. Her Mercury in Capricorn in the 8th house, sitting on his Nistamini in the 12th, is not small talk energy. That is conversation happening in a locked basement. Mercury in the 8th already wants to talk about power, money, sex, and the things that people hide. And Capricorn makes it controlled and calculated, and nothing is said by accident. And when that mindset lands on his Nistamini in the 12th, it presses directly on the part of him tied to taboo, secrecy, and the shadow side of victimization. They are already speaking the same language. Both of them have Mercury in Capricorn. But Nistamini carries a darker myth here. She was the girl turned into an owl after being violated. It's a story soaked in sexual abuse and silence. So, placed in the 12th house, that myth lives in the dark, in the hidden corners of the psyche, and in the places no one is supposed to see. So when her Mercury holds hands with his Nistamini, she can speak directly to that shadow energy. She doesn't circle it, she names it. She understands how it operates, and more importantly, how it stays hidden. And because his Calypso is involved, secrecy becomes the rule of the room. Her Alma and Nistamini sitting on his moon it's heavy. That is dark soul energy landing directly on his emotional core. Nistamini carries a myth soaked in shame, secrecy, and violation, like I said before. So when it touches his moon, it presses on the part of him that hides. And Alma is soul. And this is where loyalty gets built around what is hidden. Where two people bond over something that lives in the dark and never fully comes into the light. And the shadow that she awakens in him is not foreign territory, because his sun holds hands with Machiavelli and Pholus. Machiavelli represents calculated power, strategy without moral hesitation, very savvy and street smart, a smooth operator. He could manipulate people. It's a very persuasive energy. And Pholus is different. Pholus is the trigger. It's the small action that releases something massive. You get someone whose sense of self is tied to structure, hierarchy, and leverage, and long game positioning. And this is slow burn strategy due to the Capricorn energy of Machiavelli. It's knowing which domino to tap and letting the avalanche unfold while keeping your hands clean. And with Pholus there, beside his sun in Aquarius, once that first boundary is crossed, everything after it escalates. His Priapus and Lucretia conjuncts her south node in the 10th house. That's karmic territory. The south node is past pattern energy, the place in the chart that already feels familiar. So when Priapus lands there, that raw, obsessive sexual appetite plugs straight into something that she already recognizes. And Lucretia carries a darker myth. Lucretia is tied to sexual blackmail, coercion, and manipulation. So both of those energies sit directly on her south node. And this is happening in her 10th house. The 10th house that rules public life, reputation, status, and power. So what the chart shows is his sexual intensity and manipulation signature locking into an old karmic pattern that she already knows and knows how to operate inside of. And it doesn't shock her. It feels familiar because of the South Node. When almost all of her personal planets, her Mercury, her Sun, her Mars, and her Venus, fall into his 12th house, that tells you everything. She doesn't meet him in the daylight. She meets him in the shadows. The 12th house is what's hidden, what's secret, what lives behind closed doors. So her mind, her identity, her desire, and her love nature all activate that hidden space in him. She operates exactly where he hides things, behind closed doors. And when her moon conjuncts his south node, there's also instant familiarity here. Her emotional nature feels known to him, not new, known. Like he has been here before. It's an indication of past life connections. And when his Medea and Proserpina, the underworld queen, lands on her descendant, that is not light partner energy. The descendant is the place of committed relationships, the kind of people that we bind ourselves to. So what does he bring into that space? Medea, which carries betrayal and revenge. Proserpina is the underworld bride, the myth of abduction and descent. So when those archetypes sit on her partnership axis, he arrives wearing that energy. It's intense, consuming, and transformative in a way that pulls her downward into something deeper and darker. This is underworld marriage energy of power and control. And when his Pholus lands on her Medea, that is the moment when something is crossing a line. Pholus explodes what it touches, like I said before. And Medusa carries one of the darkest myths. After betrayal, humiliation, and violation, Medusa becomes the scorned woman. She's hardened by what was done to her, and she turns into something feared, something men were drawn toward only to face the consequences after. So when his Pholus touches her Medusa, it can look like her luring him in. Pholus activates that Medusa energy, and once that door opens, everything else escalates. She didn't turn him into stone, but in the chain of events that followed, he eventually was arrested. And here's what makes this dangerous. Her Jupiter and Priapus are on his north node. So she doesn't just support his destiny, she enlarges it. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. It makes things bigger, louder, more powerful. And Priapus is not soft desire. It's raw, primal hunger. So when both of those conjunct his north node, the path forward becomes flooded with appetite and excess. His life direction gets pulled into that craving, and the destiny in this relationship becomes amplified, intensified, and it's pushed further and faster into that primal territory. She accelerates those energies until ultimately it becomes the defining theme of the relationship for him. He has Nessus conjuncting his Jupiter in the 4th house. Nessus carries the myth of abuse, of power, and violation of boundaries. Jupiter enlarges whatever it touches. So when Jupiter is conjuncting his Nessus, that energy doesn't stay small, it expands, it grows, and the sense of entitlement, the willingness to cross lines, becomes amplified. The 4th house is the private world, the place behind closed doors. So this means that the expansion of that Nessus energy plays out in private spaces instead of out in the open. That's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this interpretation, and I will be back soon with more synastry charts and natal charts as well.